Hi everybody. Well, I don't know about you, but I've breathed a sigh of relief this week. The events have been quite uplifting. Like most people, I've been looking at world events in dismay, and perhaps you've felt also a heavy heart. Maybe you're sensitive to energy and you feel it in your body. So this week, it just felt hopeful. It felt like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. And in meditation, I was told very clearly to create a crystal grid to energetically assist the world. Now I know that we all affect the environment around us, even in places that are far away. And I know this not just from a belief system that I hold, but I've also used dowsing to confirm that it's true. So do check out my video on dowsing energy lines and power centers to see how even 1 minute of positive intention can affect the energy of a place. And I'll link that video below. So today I'm going to create a world crystal grid. And this is to add uplifting, pure positive energy into the world. And I'm going to show you how to do it. But before I do, so let's get up to speed on what crystal grids are. And that's if you don't know much about them. So crystal grids are charged crystals that are placed on a geometric pattern, and they have a specific purpose and an intention. And they're powerful energy tools to use for manifesting and bringing about the things that you want in your life and the experiences that you want to have. So a crystal grid is a wonderful union of energies created between the stones, the sacred geometric pattern that you're using, and of course your intention. When we place crystals in an intentional way and we activate them, we're tapping into some really powerful, naturally occurring energetic grids that operate within and around the earth. So the crystals and the activation of these help us to tap into the grids. And the first of these grids are the earth grid, and some call this the crystalline grid. So the premise is this: the earth is surrounded by a web of energy grid lines that form kind of a matrix within and around the earth itself. And they're invisible, but they can be detected through dowsing. So these grid lines are similar to meridians that transport the subtle energy kind of within us. So they're moving energy through and around the earth. Now where these energy lines intersect, they create powerful energy centers, portals and also vortices that link us to other dimensions. Now these crossing points are known as nodes, and you'll find them at the known power sites of the world. And ancient peoples and wisdom cultures, well, they knew and understood this, and they built their temples and they worshipped at these sites across the globe. So when we place our crystals in an intentional way, we are connecting them to this grid and we're powering up our intention. The other grid we use is the light grid, which is the causal and higher mental planes around the earth. And these link us to our higher self. And within our crystal grid that we create, we have what's known as a central stone. We call this the broadcaster. And what that does is it connects our intention and the crystal energy to this light grid. So not only do we tap into the earth grid, but this wonderful high vibration light grid as well. Now another powerful energy that we leverage when we create our grids are sacred geometric shapes and patterns, and we use these to arrange our crystals on in order to leverage the power of the grid based on its intention. So geometric shapes like the seed of life, the flower of life, Metatron's cube, the tree of life, they're all popular grid patterns and powerful. However, for today's grid, I'm going to be using the Earth's chakra system as the grid pattern, the organizer for my grid. Now, just like the human body, the Earth has the same system of chakras. Now, if you don't know what chakras are, they're energy points, and they have an outward and inward face to them as they facilitate the connection to the physical and the energetic bodies of energy. Now the word chakra is Sanskrit, and it's roughly translated to spinning discs or wheels, and this is how they function. They move energy to and from the physical body, and they can only function well when they're spinning freely and not blocked by stale, stuck energy or energy that really just no longer serves us. Now, lots of things can affect our chakras, including our thoughts, our emotions, our intentions, but also the thoughts and the emotions and the actions of other people, and things like EMF frequency can affect them. Now, the chakra has a purpose and a function on the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual aspects of life. However, they're not independent of each other. They're interdependent, and as such, they work in partnership with each other to bring about health, healing, and wholeness. So I wanted my main focus for the grid that I'm going to create to be these earth chakras, and to use crystals that are going to support them. So through the grid, I want to help the chakras to be clear, help them to rebalance, and kind of help them to work with partnership with each other and humanity. So you might ask where these chakras are and what they do and what their purpose is. So here's what I know. So let's start at the root. Well, this is located at Mount Shasta, California, USA, and it's associated with our foundational strength, stability, and safety, as well as our stress response. It's the root of the earth's energy. Then there's the sacral chakra. It's at Lake Titicaca on the border of Bolivia and Peru. It's the largest lake in the region and said to be the womb of the planet. The sacral chakra is associated with sexuality, emotional balance, self-respect, and creativity. The solar plexus chakra is dual located, so in Uluru, which is Ayers Rock in Australia, and also the Carter Juta rock formations also in Australia. Now, Ayers Rock is said to be the spiritual heart of Australia, and this chakra is associated with self-definition, purpose, personal power, as well as global health and vitality. Now, the heart chakra. Well, this is well known to be in Glastonbury in England, and Glastonbury is known as the heart chakra of England. It's a mecca for spiritual and metaphysical people. Steeped in King Arthur legend, magic and mysticism, it also borders on ancient power places like Stonehenge and Avebury. Now, it's also said that the heart chakra resides in Hawaii as well, specifically at the, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but the Haleakala volcano. And this is because the energy at the top of the volcano gives off the same frequency as the beating of the human heart. So I'm going to place a crystal there as well. Now, the heart chakra is associated with the qualities of love, compassion, giving, and forgiving. And this is where all of our healing takes place. Now, the throat chakra is located at the Great Pyramids in Egypt. With its ancient scrolls and hieroglyphics, I think it's fitting that this is the home of the chakra that governs communication. Now, this chakra is all about harnessing the courage and power to seek and speak our truth. It's connected to our overall communication, self-expression, and authenticity. Now, the third eye chakra is really interesting as it has no fixed location. It's said to move in line with the eons that are also called the New Age, which is every couple of thousand years. Now, most people believe it's currently located at Glastonbury, England, so quite unique. We have the heart chakra and the third eye chakra in the same location. Now, according to astrology, we're currently in the age of Aquarius, which determined that the third eye would be in line with the heart chakra in England. Now, when we move into the next astrological phase, which is the age of Capricorn, the chakra is expected to shift to Brazil. Now, astronomers estimate that each astrological age lasts approximately 2,100 years to 2,500 years, so it's not happening anytime soon. Now, this chakra is associated with intuition, intelligence, and deep spiritual connection. And then finally, the crown chakra. Now, this can be found at Mount Kailas in Tibet. Now, Mount Kailas reaches almost 22,000 feet tall, and it's often called the roof of the world and is considered to be the most sacred mountain in the Himalayas. So it's therefore fitting to be the home of the crown chakra, which is associated with the highest levels of wisdom, understanding, divine guidance, and cosmic consciousness. That's my basic grid pattern that I'm going to be using. So these chakra points will be the focus that I'm going to lay the crystals on to support them. So now you know a little bit more about crystal grids and earth chakras. Let's look at what you need to create a crystal grid. So these are the things that you're going to need for your grid. Well, you're going to need obviously some crystals, so a collection of crystals that you want to place on your grid, and you'll want to align those crystals with the intention for the grid. So you can do that by your knowledge of the metaphysical properties, so you can choose the ones that you think fit the intention. You can do some research, you can look at books or go on to the internet to do that. But you can also, use your intuition, so you can tap in through dowsing, so maybe using a pendulum, but also just knowing in your body what the right crystals are to place. Sometimes it really doesn't matter, if in your brain and understand why. If you're feeling pulled to place a crystal, then follow your intuition. The important thing that I think with selecting crystals, I do believe that crystals are sentient. I do believe that they have a consciousness, a personality even. So I always like to ask my crystals if they're willing to participate in the grid with me. Now you can do that by dowsing, so you can use your pendulum. I'll often body dowse. That's where you get kind of, your body moves a certain way if there's a yes or a no response. Or you can ask in your mind, ask the question and energetically receive the answer. You often feel that in your body. Now, sometimes a crystal will say no, they don't want to play with us in this way, and that's fine. Just allow them to be who they are and choose a different crystal. And if they're willing to participate in the grid, then that's fantastic. But don't get offended if they say no. The other thing that's really important once you've selected your crystals is that you cleanse them. Now, if you don't know how to cleanse a crystal, I do have a video which I will link in the description below. It's a comprehensive guide to cleansing crystals, so do check that out if you're unsure about cleansing your crystals. But having crystals to put on the grid that are energetically the highest vibration that they can be and free from any kind of stale stuck energy is the best thing when you're creating a grid. Now, the next thing that you're going to need for your grid is something that that you place in the center, so a center stone. We call it the broadcaster. Now, these stones are bigger than the other crystals, so they really kind of make a statement in the middle of the crystal grid. Now, traditionally we use quartz, because quartz is an amplifier. It's a high vibration, and we use a quartz point because with the point, remember that the center stone, the broadcaster, is connecting the grid to the light grid, which is up there in the ether somewhere. So point is really good for that. But if you're guided to put a different center stone, then go with what your intuition is saying. So I'm going to show you the crystal that we're going to put in the center of our grid. So this is a crystal point that I've had for some time. It's actually it's got a few little kind of other points on, so I really like to use this, because there's something about when you're living with so closely to other kind of crystal beings, you've got to be able to live harmoniously with each other. So I think that this is a really good crystal to use in our world grid. So this is going to be at the center with a nice point that's going to connect to the light grid. So the other thing that you're going to need is something that you activate the grid with. And again, we tend to use a clear quartz point, but again, intuition wins every time. So if you're guided to use a different type of crystal, absolutely, that's fine. But this is my master healer. It's one that I think I've shown on other videos. Certainly all of my in-person classes and my online classes get to see this, but it is a Lemurian crystal, and it has a beautiful being inside. I call it my Pegasus. Long story about how this crystal came to me. It's probably the only crystal that I don't let anybody else touch. It's full of wonderful, magical fantastic intentions. It's a really fantastic stone. So we'll be activating our grid using this activation wand. And then of course it's the intention. So what is the intention for the grid? What you're trying to bring about? What are the things that you want manifested in this physical world? So for this crystal grid for the earth, I want healing, I want health, I want happiness and peace and love. So they're kind of the overall intentions for this grid. So, you know, as we create the grid, I invite you to hold those bigger intentions as we're placing the crystals and activating it. But each of the individual chakras are going to have kind of a separate but contributing intention. And so I'm going to talk about those in a moment. I'm going to share with you what chakra stones we're going to be placing at each of the earth chakra points and why and what the intention is. So come with me now. So at the root, I'm going to place red jasper first, and this is to strengthen and to create a strong foundation for the world. But I'm also going to place a nice piece of amethyst, because this is a wonderful stone for stress and anxiety. And I'm also going to pair that with a nice piece of lepidolite, which is really good for that as well. You know, I do feel that there's so much stress and anxiety in the world, and that people really aren't feeling safe. So I want to help to clear and to support that aspect of the world's psyche. So the intention here, the root chakra, is strong, solid and safe. So they're the three crystals that I'm going to place on the root chakra. Now the sacral chakra resonates with our need for relationships and how to form harmonious friendships. And I think that world events have really created a polarity in beliefs. Now, I personally have witnessed people in my community who hold really divergent beliefs to mine, and I've really struggled to keep them in my kind of friendship circle. So the intention for the sacral chakra is a strong and nurturing set of relationships and harmonious friendships across the planet. So for that, we're going to place some beautiful ruby. It's a beautiful piece of ruby, and it's an excellent stone to build strong foundations within friendships. We're also going to place some yellow jasper. Now, yellow jasper helps with collaborating and coming together, and it really teaches us the importance of honesty, and it gives us the courage needed to make change and transform our thinking to solve problems. And this will enable us to really kind of come together to heal relationships, to strengthen them, and hopefully to move forward. So they're the two crystals that we're going to be placing at the sacral. Now the solar plexus, well, this chakra helps us to ignite and to use our inner power, and it helps us to feel optimistic and joyful. So I'm going to be placing sunstone. Now I can't hold a piece of sunstone and not want to smile, so it really has to go into the grid. So we've got a piece of sunstone there. But I'm also going to lay on a piece of citrine, which is here. A beautiful piece of citrine, again a very joyful sunny stone, and a piece of yellow calcite, again another joyful stone. And so this is going to be a reminder for the world to find joy both individually but also collectively. So there are three stones for the solar plexus. Now my intention for the heart chakra is forgiveness and self-love and love of humanity as well. So I'm going to be placing a piece of rose quartz, but also a piece of pink calcite, mangano calcite it's also known as, and also a piece of rhodochrosite. These are all wonderful crystals to bring about heart healing, But I was also, as I was kind of choosing these crystals, I was also guided to place a piece of jet at the heart. Now, jet is an amazing grief stone, so I think that this will really help the world to heal from grief. So that's going to go there as well. Now at the throat, well, my intention is about loving communication, to help us to find our voice in equal measure to kindness and compassion, because sometimes words do matter and words hurt. So we've got to balance finding our voice with kindness and compassion. So for this I have chosen some beautiful lapis lazuli. I've also chosen blue lace agate, and also I'm going to pair it with some rose quartz just to remind us to embark upon loving communication as well. So they're the stones that are going to be at the throat chakra. So now we come to the third eye. So the third eye, I've chosen some kunzite, beautiful piece of kunzite there. I've also chosen some amethyst. This is a little thumb stone that often I'll use. And then also some purple fluorite, and this is just an amazing piece of purple fluorite. So really the purpose of these stones is to help us to see the world from the perspective of our higher self. And I think that this perspective, it can only look at each of us with love and compassion. It reminds us to come from love, really looking at events and people that surround us from those compassionate eyes, from that perspective of higher self, I think is going to be incredibly powerful. So they're the three stones that we're going to place there. And then finally for the crown, well, this is a beautiful piece of clear phenacite, and really I'm placing this to remind us that there's no separation, and that is that's the absolute truth. We don't have a separate piece of energy called dawn that's separate to anything else. We are all connected, and phenacite will help us to remind us that whatever we do affects each other. So I think that's a beautiful intention to put at the crown. So we are going to create our crystal grid now. These are all cleansed and ready and willing and able to participate. So I do invite you to come along as I create the grid, as I activate the grid. And remember to hold space as you're watching this. Hold the bigger intention of health and healing and love and joy. So come along as we do the grid work. So here I have my world map, and I've marked out roughly where the chakra points are on the earth. And so the first thing that we need to do is just to spend a little bit of time just connecting to the outcome that we want to see from this grid. So holding our heart, health for the world, healing for the world, love, compassion, peace and joy for the world. And with that, we'll place our center stone first. So we're going to pop that roughly in the center of this map. So that's our broadcaster stone. And now we're going to begin placing the other stone. So at the root, if we remembered, at Mount Shasta, which is roughly over here, we're going to place our red jasper. and our lepidolite and our lovely piece of amethyst. And remember we're trying to create safety and security and release stress and anxiety and worry by supporting this chakra. And now we're going to go down to Lake Titicaca, which is on the borders of Peru and Bolivia, and we're going to encourage strong relationships and partnerships with our ruby and our red jasper. We're going to remember that we really can only be strong when we come together, when there's friendship and partnership. So now we've travelled to Australia and the rock formations there. And remember, we're going to try and instill joy and happiness by these beautiful sunny light, happy vibrational stones. So now we're going to go to the heart chakra, and we've got dual locations. We've got Glastonbury, but we've also got Hawaii as well. If we remember, we're trying to create a loving sense to the world. So I'm going to lay the rhodochrosite, the pink calcite, and I'm going to lay the rose quartz on Hawaii. And then of course we want to lay this beautiful jet for grief and for heart healing. Now we're going to go to Egypt, to our throat chakra, and we're going to be laying some lapis lazuli, which is apropos for Egypt, given that they prized this crystal highly. We're going to be popping our lace agate on, as well as our rose quartz, and we're going to remember that this chakra is all about finding our voice in equal measures to our kindness and compassion. So now we're going to go to the moving third eye chakra, and we're going to laden the UK with wonderful crystals, but I'm going to put the fluorite there, and I'm going to put the amethyst there. Reminder that we come from this higher perspective. And then the kunzite, I think I'm going to just lay there. So I'm looking at the world from the perspective of source. And then finally, the last crystal is phenacite, and that's going on Tibet. Mount Kailas, reminding us that we're not alone, we're connected, we're each part of the whole, and there's no separation. So the next job is to activate the grid. So we're going to be doing that with our wand, and at each point I'm going to be working from the center stone and working out so that we connect all of the crystals together in the grid, and in that we'll be connecting the chakras together as well. So I'm going to This is a wonderful time to hold your intention. To remind the crystals what we're asking of them. house. That side, they agree. Hand feels on fire. The energy flowing. So there's our crystal grid, our world healing, and I invite you to take a photograph of that. I invite you to keep it somewhere prominent so that you can contribute that beautiful, wonderful, high energy healing intention out to the world. So there it is, we've created our crystal grid, and remember the intention is health and happiness and peace and love. So I encourage you to take a picture of the grid and put it somewhere prominent where you're going to see it on a regular basis, so that each time you look at it you can send that wonderful energy and intention out into the universe. Better still, why not create your own grid? Now I've given you a bit of insight and some of the ideas of how to do that for yourself. So I hope you have fun with that. I also hope that you enjoyed this video. So if you did like it, give it a thumbs up. Please do consider subscribing and hitting the bell so that you're notified when I do upload a new video. You also might be interested in my other channel, which is Beyond Belief Paranormal Events, and I'll link that below. That's a channel where all my paranormal investigating activities will be going on to as well. So swing by there and give it a like and subscribe as well. And really just the final thing that I wanted to say is that I really do appreciate your comments, your likes, your views. It means it does mean an awful lot to me, so thank you for that, and have a fantastic day. Ta-ta for now.